one of the things that's happening is there's a proposed reorganization of the college that defunds these departments. And what we see happening then is a lack of access to these students, and as everyone is saying, it's not necessary. It's not necessary. Actually, to fund these departments is very small, and we bring in a lot of funding. So I know you'll have questions about that, but I just wanted to make that clear to you that we're serving the most vulnerable, but also the most resilient, the most knowledgeable, the people best able to offer critical skills that are necessary to survive and thrive in the 21st century.
I want to let you know that our community here is a very special one. The student population of City College represents around 73% students of color. And from that 73%, over half of them have to take basic skill classes. So when we get a high school student coming into our classes, most often they're not as prepared as, let's say, an average student coming into one of the four-year institutions. I taught at USF for 13 years, and during those 13 years, I taught a freshman seminar, and one of the things that was amazing was talking to them, and I'm going to say that 98% of them finished, and not only that, over half of them knew as freshmen what they were going to do. When I talk to an incoming freshman coming to City College, sometimes I get an impression that they might know what they're doing, but most often I get a story that is someone who's saying to us, I'm here because my mom and dad want me here, or worse, they don't really want to be here. And that to me is a student that is at risk. On the opposite side of the coin, looking at instructors, I'm going to say that about 10% of the instructors at City College are students of color, teachers of color, instructors of color. So there's a disproportion there. And when we try to get students to identify, to find something that they can feel that they can be successful in, we're losing those classes. Most students that I run into have had horrible experiences in their high school when it deals with math and English. And then I'll say, well, instead of taking a math or English basic skill course, why don't you take a music class in African American Studies, learn how to read music, and if you're successful at that, engage math again. Learn fractions in a different way. And so one of the things that we've been successful at, the Diversity Collaborative, is taking these at-risk students and giving them a second chance at looking at themselves and being able to dream about things that they never thought were possible in the past. If we lose the departments, we're going to eventually lose the individuals that are engaged with students and that are trying to learn from students in how to speak their language to get them to stay in school. And that to me is so important. It's the faculty who's in the trenches with the students trying to learn from one another.
When we met yesterday, we brainstormed about what we would say to show the importance of the diversity departments. We tended to focus on the very practical kinds of things in these departments, the practical, the educational kinds of benefits that these departments provide. So we were going to bring students to have them make testimony. There are students that are here. We're going to talk about the kinds of ways in which we connect in a very direct way with the communities that we represent. So what I thought of for African American Studies was making the link that the African American Studies has with the retention programs at CCSF, and in particular the African American Scholastic Program. This is a pathway, a gateway for young African American women and men coming out of high school, many of whom have real academic weaknesses. So the African American Achievement Program is a program that's designed to help them to bridge, to make that bridge from what it is that they have not learned to what it is they need to know, the basic skills they need to be successful in a college education. So what the African American Studies Department does in conjunction with the African American Achievement Program is to have special classes that are specifically organized for students in that program. Plus, we have a certain number of seats in every one of our classes and spaces which are reserved for students who come in through the African American Achievement Program. So that's a kind of practical thing in the USAC. We're really helping the educational process. But if we simply stop there, there's an important dimension that we're missing. We're avoiding that kind of question which we often avoid in this country, and that is the intellectual importance of these departments. If we think of disciplines like history, sociology, political science, the liberal arts, the social sciences, they have been transformed dramatically in the last generation or two because of the existence of these departments. Once upon a time, you could have an American history class and talk about slavery in some peripheral institution, some peculiar institution that existed in a particular part of the country. You can't do that anymore because of the role that departments like African American Studies have played in the reshaping of the historical narrative. Once upon a time, you could talk about the political history of the United States, and everyone in it was male and white. You can't do that anymore because of the role that women's studies departments have played in reshaping the narrative. And it's not something this isn't something that happened a long time ago. I mean, with the first LGBT department in the country was at CCSF. The first one in the country was at CCSF, and it serves as a model, not only for the country, but the chair of Ardell Thomas, he got a call from England. They wanted to go to England and help organize a department there. So the importance of these departments in every academic and intellectual and scholastic dimension cannot be underestimated. The fact that they want to downsize the departments, either collapse them together, which they're tending to move away from, or defund them. And the way that they defund them is by eliminating release time and stipends for chairs. So that when, as Bill Shields says, when the call comes to Ardell, from England, to come, she's not there. She's in the classroom. She's doing some work that she has this pile of work that she can't get done because she's in the classroom so long.
One thing that has happened under this cooked-up threat to close us down is, by my count, we've lost about 5,000 students because of the threat to close us down. Students are fleeing to other colleges. We want to let the community know, no, we're open. We will be open for a rich summer semester, a rich fall semester. All of our programs, as beleaguered as we are by funding cuts, we will be here. We believe eventually with your help we will prevail in maintaining funding. So we want to make sure that the public gets the message that we are open, especially to serve our communities. This concluding part of our presentation is where each department will offer you an interesting example of one project that we're working on. And the women from La Colectiva are here. Maria Fernandez in particular will say a word. We collaborate, as Lauren mentioned, across all of our departments. We have a class in the Latino worker in the Americas that Labor and Community Studies teaches with Latin American Studies. With our union connections and labor connections, we are working with a very exciting new development called Workers' Centers. Workers' rights organizations, the Chinese Progressive Association, the Filipino Community Center, Power in the Bayview, Young Workers United, and the San Francisco Day Labor Program, under which is the Women's Collective, La Colectiva of Domestic Workers. Our department also has a class in collaboration with the theater department called Work Tales, Tales of Workers' Lives. This semester, we are doing a work tale project with the domestic workers and with the day laborers, leaving their home countries, the dangerous crossing of the border, getting established here without papers, trying and finally finding work, finally organizing. These women are fighting for the Domestic Workers' Bill of Rights. We may be the second state in the union to get that this year, and they are fighting along with Los Jornaleros They're fighting for rights for immigrant workers. So they're going to say just a word, particularly Maria is going to say a word about the program. Hablo sobre el programa, entonces.
Sí, buenos días. Soy María y miembro de la colectiva de mujeres.
So I'm Maria. Good day. I'm a member of the Women's Collective.
La colectiva es una organización no lucrativa de membresía.
Right. This is a volunteer membership organization.
Ahí nos enseñan a ser parte de cómo aprender a integrarnos a la comunidad y a conseguir un trabajo de casa.
Right. The group helps us find work, cleaning houses, and also how to connect with the community.
Y ahora estamos conectados con el proyecto del maestro Bill
Now we're working with Bill on this project.
para dar a conocer qué es lo que nos mueve para venir aquí en este país.
Right, which we'll talk about how was it that we came to this country.
A contar nuestras historias como inmigrantes.
Telling our stories as immigrants.
Y eso nos ayuda a nosotros a que nuestro movimiento se vea más. Eso nos ayuda a sanar emocionalmente también.
This is going to help us tap into our emotions and our passions.
Y damos a conocer nuestro trabajo, nos organizamos bien.
It's going to help people learn about us, about our work, about how we're organizing.
Nos organizamos mejor y eso hace que nuestro movimiento se vea más.
Right, so our movement will be more visible.
Y logremos nuestros objetivos como inmigrantes creciendo en este país.
Right, and to strengthen our position as immigrants in this country.
Entonces estamos en un proyecto de teatro que vamos a darlo a conocer en diciembre. Ahorita estamos en un proceso de presentación en mayo, tenemos una prepresentación y estamos muy emocionadas con eso porque nuestro movimiento se ve y como mujeres eso nos da refuerza más nuestro liderazgo aquí en la comunidad.
So this is going to help develop our women's leadership. We're very excited. We're going to have a May show of our work in progress, aiming at a complete theatrical presentation in December.
Somos 10 mujeres que estamos ahora en el proyecto, pero quisiéramos que participaran más porque vemos que esto nos ayuda a ser mejores ciudadanas.
Right, so there are 10 women active in the project now, but we're hoping more become involved to help strengthen our movement towards citizenship as active citizens.
Esperamos que este proyecto continúe para que más mujeres salgan de la oscuridad donde estamos como trabajadoras y como inmigrantes pobres.
Right, so we hope the project will continue so women can come out of the shadows, out of obscurity, as poor people, more into the light.
Y avancemos en dando a conocer nuestra cultura y nuestra forma de ser y crezcamos como seres humanos y como personas.
Right, so people will know us, know our culture, know that we are people, know that we are human beings.
African American history full-time there. And a large part of what I've been trying to do as a new faculty member is to build community with the students outside of the classroom to try to keep them in school so they feel like they're a part of something. So we did, but through building community, also empowering members of the community by putting them in leadership positions, whether they be former students or people that I know that are doing things in the community. So at the beginning of the semester, I had a member of the community, older woman who just went back to school, her do a presentation on West African waste beating. Was her first lecture. She was transferring to Mills College for the first time, so it gave her a way to go into Mills College and transfer with some sort of academic experience and then show other students, share her success story with other students and the history and tradition of West African waste beating. And we're also working in conjunction with the Women's Studies Department and with the English Department to do another screening of the film Half the Sky, which my sister, who's actually a transfer student at Mills, is coming back to lead. So it's all about putting former students in positions of power and giving them access to the facilities and resources that I have as a faculty member, so I'm not just role modeling for them, but other former students are role modeling for them as well. And so that's been a large part of what we've been trying to do as a department, is build community and raise awareness around people that are doing things to preserve African American history and culture in the Bay Area.
Aaliyah is being very humble. Aaliyah is one of City College's greatest success stories. She started as a high school student, taking courses at CCSF. Then she entered after high school, an excellent student. She took one of my courses. I remember her, tall and thin and very, very brilliant. And then she then transferred to San Francisco State in the Grow Your Own program, which they've eliminated. Grow Your Own was a program that provided assistance, financial assistance to students who would transfer to San Francisco State. I think they could go elsewhere too.
Yeah, they go in the Indian school.
And they would get their degrees, and then they would come back to CCSF and work as interns, which in fact Aaliyah did. She worked as an intern, and in fact she actually taught courses as an intern. Just taught courses. And then she was hired a year ago. And I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about this, it's all over now. I sat with that hiring committee, and Aaliyah was up against tough competition. I mean, the toughest competition you can imagine. And she came out on top again and again and again. Aaliyah is one of the best teachers I've ever known in life. She's a product of CCSF. And she's back at the school. Doing all those, working back at the school, working with the community, the city that she came up with. Now, if these changes take place, if these changes are ran through, all of these things that we're talking about are likely to disappear, and this is criminal. And we have to understand that this is criminal. It doesn't have to happen.
Department Chair of Disabled Students Programs and Services. Last year, DSPS served over 2,600 students with disabilities. In 2009, DSPS allocation funding from Sacramento was cut by 40%. When Sacramento cut the general community colleges by 12%, the DSPS programs were cut by 40%. What I want to tell you is right now DSPS is working very closely with the City College Veterans Center to provide access and accommodations to veterans living with traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress syndrome, or perhaps living without a limb, or vision problems, or hearing problems. If you want to talk about what's the direct effect to students, students now are waiting more than 3 weeks to see a counselor in order to get accommodations that are afforded to them federally mandated. It's a law that they have to provide these accommodations, and yet with a lack of staff, there's been a decrease in, I've lost 3 counselors and 6 classified staff without permission for replacement or rehire. We no longer have counseling in the evening. We no longer have counseling on Saturday. We no longer have testing accommodation in the evening. We no longer have testing accommodation on Saturday. We also had a strategies lab assistance program that ran in the evening that has also been closed. The computer high-tech center hours have been cut. It's been very difficult. And on top of that, the number of disabled students coming to City College is on the increase. If you'd like to ask me more questions, I will stay around. Thank you very much.
Students, people that are the least represented students in academia. Ardell Thomas has led the way with this program. She has not only led this as a minor, now it is a major at the state level. Other institutions, other schools are looking to us for the model of how they will set up their departments. This semester we have several really exciting courses. We have AIDS in America, which deals with what is a very important crisis in America, especially dealing with Latino and African American students, where HIV is a major, major concern. And not always just with LGBT, but also within other communities. And we are also dealing with the first class that deals with LGBT and Latinos. And we wrote these courses to deal with homophobia, which is a real big problem in communities, especially Latinos and African Americans. And we're trying to give these students a legacy. Many of our students come to us, they've been thrown out of their homes, they have no past to them, and we try to give them that with the courses. However, we don't have department chairs that allow us to be able to write courses like this. We are not going to be able to serve these communities, and that would be a tragic loss.
Student Studies Department is the only such program in a public institution in the whole United States, with a department chair, an allocated budget, and a specific assigned faculty. Because of this, we get requests from all over the country about the courses we offer. We give them data about what are the contents of our courses, what bibliographies we use, because we are the only resource in the country. And if we lose that individuality, there's none. All the other departments in universities and bigger institutions are usually under Asian studies or Southeast Asian or ethnic studies groups. So we are the only unique group in the U.S. And that way we're able to uniquely serve the Bay Area, which is with its very diverse population, and a Phil-Am population of easily 500,000. More so if you count the undocumented population. We have students enrolled from other courses enrolling in our courses. And in the summer, we have many students from all over the country, even from the East Coast, because of the uniqueness of our course offerings. One thing we're very proud of is over the past 20 years, since 1995, we have been sending Fulbright scholars abroad to the Philippines for immersion studies in culture, history, and language. This group has produced 5 student board of trustee members and about 4 student council associated student presidents and many Senate members in the students. So it's evolved as a cultural, historical, but also a student leadership development program. In addition to this, in partnership with a French and Swiss funded group, over the past 15 years, we've been sending students to do internships for the whole summer with street children in Manila in the Philippines. And for these students, it has been an actual training in life and a life-changing and a value-changing experience. So to be able to continue this, to be able to get funding for this, especially for
major presentations, Elizabeth brought the petition there, and one of the board members, not Steve, no, another one, looked directly at me in a very friendly way and said, "We're not going to lose women's studies." And I thought to myself, he has no idea what the Women's Studies Chair does. We are interdisciplinary departments. The Women's Studies Chair, every semester, Elizabeth will call each of the other chairs to make sure that our classes don't conflict with each other, to keep our enrollments up, to make sure that our students are going to get a full panoply of all of our classes. The work is immense, and the Board of Trustees, to answer your questions, have no idea what it looks like.
Themes that we receive from the Board of Supervisors is that the community colleges are governed by a state system that's separate from the municipality of San Francisco. And even though we try to always make sure that they're aware of the fact that the students are, for the most part, San Franciscans, they're saying to us by their absence that really the state, it's a state level issue, is troubling. And the Ed Lee part, I don't know, but I believe that in part comes from the fact that we have a very divided board. And although we have members of the board that really empathize with what's going on, for the most part, the board has things imposed upon them by the special trustee, and that special trustee is forcing decisions to be made in this business model fashion, and we're not getting a board that's supportive of the school, but a board that's supporting the district.
Many of the department chairs or educators here have an opinion on who benefits from this and who's driving this change.
Well, the special trustee, Scott Agrella, is making $1,000 a day. By my count, that's already cost us 20 classes. Every 6 days, that's enough money to fund another class. That man, getting paid to sit around and tell us what to do after a checkered career at Santa Rosa Junior College, has cost us 20 classes, right? And they're giving hundreds of thousands of dollars to consultants, right? Our chancellor, we think she has 2 pensions plus her 6-figure salary. That's interim chancellor, $500,000. Again, that's money that should be used to rehire the almost 40 classified staff who've been laid off, bring back teachers, create classes for our students where they don't have to be stuffed in with 50, 60, 70 students. There's profiteering going on here. And if they succeed, And really what they want, we're just all going to be given standardized tests, and the standardized test companies are going to make a huge pile of money. That's what we're standing in the way of.
And the person who, Paul Tidwell, who spoke with us, when he talked about what happened, it was almost like a mirror image of what had happened to CCSF. It was like a playbook. And then he talked about after the show cause ruling was issued, then the consultants started coming in. And what even had my mouth all over it, he talked about a consultant that came in that was supposed to help, you know, the faculty and the administrators get along. This person was there a couple of days, now get my figures wrong, and they nearly $250,000 for a couple of days' work. I mean, what kind of scale are we talking about here? And this is, you see this over and over again, the ruling is, you know, the show cause ruling comes in, and then all the consultants come in, and guess where they come from, guess who they know. And they start carrying away large amounts of money. So you know, we ask who benefits from this. I mean, it's clear as day.
An example of what Dr. Farrar is talking about, because it sounds like a conspiracy, but I'll give you an example. We were criticized for not having enough full-time upper-level administrators on the vice chancellor level. So none of them were reappointed and returned back to deans. Then the announcements for vice chancellors came out, and a preferable hiring qualification is that they be retired. This is public record. So our administrators are asking the people that are applying for the job, it is desirable that they be retired. What is a retired person but an intern administrator? So it just defies the logic.
Colleges in the state, in other parts of the country, it's maybe 4 or 5%. They're out of control. So we're demanding, but we need the community's help, that our politicians start investigating, going after these folks and saying, you must stop what you're doing. That's a long-running civil rights level campaign, which we're part of, and we're also trying to insist again that the money comes here where it belongs, to this campus, to these students. So yeah, it's a multiple-pronged strategy. We're here today especially to say, please help us help maintain funding for the diversity departments.
There's also on April 28th, a meeting with Paula Littman, who's done work on K through 12. So we're seeing our struggle is linked to the school closures in 18 cities in the United States. Some people see it as a link to gentrification. You kick certain people out of the neighborhood, you close down their schools. So it'll be April 28th, Sunday, 3 to 6. You're going to have to look for the location because we don't have it yet. Yeah.
Talk about what's happening at the negotiating table. But I think one of the things I want to be very clear about is that they started out talking about consolidation of our departments, and that we would, no longer be women's studies, but we'd be sort of just amalgam of multiple, ethnic studies kind of departments. And now there's been a little bit of a backing off on that. Now what they've been talking about is keeping our departments as separate, just defunded. And what we really want to do, the message we want to talk about here today, is that doesn't save the department. If you have a department in name only, but you remove the funding, you kill the department. And so that's one of the messages we really want to express today. And I think it's also one of the resistances that we see sometimes when we're talking to folks is, women's studies is saved, and Latin American studies is saved, and don't worry, African American studies is saved. Well, it's not. It's saved, if it's saved in name only, but no one is there, if no one is paid to do the work, right? How is it going to continue the incredible amount of work that we all do, right? And the community work and all of the extra work that we do it's not going to be there.
We had used our reserves to keep our college alive. We thought our former chancellor did a really good job of keeping our college alive. Sadly, he was afflicted with a brain tumor, so we lost him. So this new regime says, not just 5% of reserves, we're fine, let's put 5%. They want 8%. So they're starving the beast. They're taking this money that Bill has talked about, others have talked about, that we've gotten from walking up and down the hills to get Proposition 8 passed, and thank you all very much for voting for it, I'm sure you did. They're taking that money and putting it into reserves in a way that they don't need to. They're putting it into what's called unfunded liability. Yes, unfunded liability, retirement, is an issue that we need to address. But I've talked to an actuary. I even talked to the actuary who's working with City College, and they're saying they don't have to put it into the unfunded liability at the rate they want to do it. So you see they're taking our revenue and stuffing it away and then cutting our departments. It's called starve the beast.
I don't,
I heard about that.
this is tongue in cheek, but I think they're preparing for all these lawsuits.
Yep. And I'm a student here also. So, and I'm a part of participatory governor. And also, I feel so bad about we see losing a lot of classes over here, and at City College, and also I can see a lot of teachers losing their classes, and as a student and a mom for two teenagers, you know, they are attending to high school, to college, and I don't want them to, you know, they want to try to take a class, and this class they want to take is not in there. So, and also, you know, the college, City College for me is like my second house. I'm studying here, emergency medical technician, medical receptionist, and I'm a nurse assistant. And I was working as a nurse assistant, but I had two accidents, and I stopped doing, and I stopped working. And that's why I come back again to school. I'm taking the GED, and I see a lot of you know, the classes are cutting also. On Saturdays, I'm not really sure if they cut in at all, but for summer we're not gonna have classes on Saturdays. I hope on fall they return the classes on Saturdays, because it's a lot of students coming on Saturdays. And as a student council, you know, they come to tell us what's going on and what's going on. So I'm really scared, you know. They scare also. And we've been working a lot on Proposition 8 and Proposition 30 to pass all this, to having this money for purpose to have for the classes. And we can see they're cutting a lot of classes, and what is going on, you know.
But for the longest time, we saw history classes being taught at City College that omitted the Latino contribution to U.S. history. And these were important classes because they're transfer classes to San Francisco State, and to transfer to state, you have to take 1 year of American ideals and U.S. history. So in 2005, after, I'm going to say, 8 years of battling the school, we were able to introduce a class called Latino, the impact of Latinos living in the United States is basically what the course is about. But it is really a U.S. history class that talks about, you know, immigration, talks about labor movements, talks about this, all within the framework of U.S. history. That little class has now grown to serve about 300 students a semester. And again, people identify with it. They see themselves in the course. And they can take that now as opposed to taking history 17A or 17B. And so we're, you know, that was a major battle. Right now, as I speak, we're following the model at San Francisco State, and we're trying to offer a statistics class looking at Latino demographics. And of course, everybody looks at that as a hot subject now because they want to know about voting patterns, how are Latinos going to vote on this particular issue, et cetera, et cetera. But it's going to be a statistics class, and the person that's going to be teaching it will be a Latina. What better example can we give our students to have a woman teaching a math class that transfers as statistics to San Francisco State? And that's what we're about. We're trying to empower our students. We want them to see us and say, you know, if Edgar can do it, I can do it.